What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today, a little story time. Talk about letting go. It can be tough, man. Um, I we've all been here before. You, we buy and sell and transact. Sports cards, Marvel cards, non-sports cards, comic books, collectibles, video games, whatever. And you come across something and you're like, you know what? I'm going to take a risk on this. I think this is a good idea for whatever reason. You think the card's going to go up. There's a unique situation around it, whatever the case might be. And your goal going into this whole situation was, I have a hunch about this thing, whatever it is. I'm going to buy it because I think it is going to go up in value in the short, medium, long term, whatever the case might be. You execute this plan to perfection. And we all know a lot of these blow up, go sideways, something happens. But every once in a while, we just knock one of these things out of the park. And we're like, yes, nailed this one. And everything about the current market conditions, whatever's going on, what you're into the card for, the collectible, what it's currently valued at, you know in your heart of hearts, it's time to let this bird fly from the nest. It's time to let go, as Elsa likes to say. And you just can't do it, or you don't want to do it, or there's this nagging feeling in the back. All of a sudden, you are fully invested in this thing that initially you cared about, but it wasn't like in your PC. It wasn't something that you absolutely loved. And then fast forward a week, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 3 years later, and now it is because you were right or whatever. I don't know what it is. Now all of a sudden it is your first child. I know I should sell it, but I can't. What do I do? No, that's a really fair offer, but I'm gonna hold out for a little bit more. And you start getting into that headspace. And unfortunately, what happens in most cases are your initial gut reaction is right. It probably was the right time to move said collectible item. Every once in a while, one comes back and bites you in the ass. This one has a decent chance to do that. We'll talk about it here in a second. But it's just funny how we get attached to these things that at one point in time we had little to no attachment before. I've had this happen multiple times in the past over the years since I kind of, got more into cards over the last 3 to 5 years, where, you get a card and it's like, oh, man. So what am I talking about here? Why are we on the desktop camera and why am I ranting about this? Not ranting, but you know what I mean. I sold a card this week. I closed the deal with someone local. I got to drop it off to him tomorrow morning. Actually, it's probably already happened by the time you all are seeing this video. And I was like really torn on moving it when the whole reason I graded it and got it back was to move it. And it couldn't be timed any better. The player just had a massive game. And if, you probably already know at this point what I'm talking about. The Stroud Instant Auto. Like I said, just got this back from PSA. He had an absolute monster game this past week. And I closed the deal for it today. It is getting sold to someone that I know. Actually, he already announced it on IG, so it's not a secret. Logan, great sports cards on Instagram with an 8 in there, and he's also on YouTube. Anyone that's semi-local to me knows who he is. He used to work at Card Collector 2. He's in a lot of Ryan's videos. He doesn't work there anymore. He does his own thing. He sets up at most of the larger regional shows. Big Ohio State, Cleveland, Cincinnati fan. And we had talked, when I had the card raw, we had discussed this card. And we had talked about it on a Card Collector 2 trade night when it was sitting at PSA. I didn't know what the grade was on it yet. And I told him, I was like, if I move this card, you got first crack before anybody else. And we talked back and forth this past week. Last comp on it was 2,300-ish, I think. One hasn't sold since his big game. The cheapest one listed on eBay is $3K, $29.99. That one hasn't sold yet. I'm sure now that this deal has been closed, someone will bin that one at $3K any minute now. But it's been a couple days since Sunday, so I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened. We came to an agreement on this card at, I believe it was like 2,100 cash. So I'm going to meet him in person. Don't even have to ship it. We're a couple hours apart from each other and do the transaction in person sometime this week. Like I said, may have already happened by the time you're all watching this video. But I mean, this card Stroud played for Ohio State. I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm not a diehard Ohio State fan where I live and breathe with the team. I could give two craps about the Texans. I don't care. I have no attachment to the Texans. But, I had a hunch on this card that this was potentially, for at least for the short term, if not medium term, his only autograph in a Texans uniform. To this point, that hunch has paid off. I did not think he would be as good as he has been. I thought he would be good. I thought he would be better than Bryce Young. I didn't think he'd be this good. So the funny part about this card is I took this to the National. I had it at CC2 trade night at the National. I had it out. Someone wanted it. I said $600, which is pretty much full comp what the last one had sold for raw at the National or around the National. And the guy wanted to do 500. I think he's also semi-local. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head. But he wanted to do 500, and I said no. I said I'm firm at 600. I said if I walk out of this show with it this week, I'm mailing it off to PSA. I'm going to grade it with PSA with some other stuff. So we went back and forth, and he's like, nah, I just can't do it. Whatever. No, at that point in time, you have to remember we weren't 100% sure that this was going to be his only auto yet. So I actually saw that guy a couple months later at Ryan's trade night when it was already at PSA, and he saw me and he's like, yeah, I messed up not buying the Stroud off you for 600. I should have just bought it. Because at that point, I think some PSA 10s had sold for like 1,200 or 1,000 or something like that. But yeah, like I executed this to perfection. You couldn't have asked for it to play out any better. And now here I am with basically 4xing my money. I think I'm into this card for like maybe $450. It was like $375 with tax and shipping, and then I paid $75 to grade it because I got upcharged. So I'm gonna do it for like $450. So I'm gonna 3x my initial investment. I'll come out about $1,500 up. That doesn't happen that much anymore in this market, and yet I had a really hard time saying yes and giving him a number. He was like, "Hey, what's your number on this?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Because I don't know that I want to move it. All of a sudden, now it was, I was playing the hope and wish game. The what could happen. The mystery of what's next. What if he is the next best whatever. What if this is his only actual rookie card with an autograph on it? There's only 390 some of them, plus an out of 10 and a 101. This one's one-off jersey number. Not that means anything. I don't give it any extra value for that. But like, what if that's the case? What if he is the next Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts? He's the next young gun that everyone loves, which at this point, it kind of looks like he's trending in that direction. And this is the only auto that he has. This thing could go to the freaking moon. If this was 2021, I could probably trade this for a Honda Civic. Brand new. But everything in my mind knows that it's probably the right time to move it. And, I don't know what Logan's long-term plans are with it. He PC Stroud. He has a massive Stroud collection already. So I assume it's going to go sit into that. But he could do really well on this as well. It's an expensive buy-in. But if it ends up only being his only rookie auto and he ends up continuing to play the way he is playing, they get into the playoffs. They make a little noise. Next thing you know, this thing could go quite a bit higher because of the scarcity of it. But it is just kind of, the point of this video is, one, successful transaction here. Like I said, I had a gut feeling about this. I bought one. I know that when they went live, I had immediately messaged Dakota because he's a huge Texans fan. And I was like, I got a feeling about this. And both of us kind of agreed. And he got one too. I don't know if he's graded his yet or not. I don't remember. But it's hardcore in his PC. It's not going anywhere. He's a huge Texans fan. And like I said, this all worked to perfection, and now it's time to make the right strategic choice, and I really had to hesitate on it. And as much as, I am the king of, it's the channel saying, it is the number one mantra of the channel, is they let you buy them back. And for the most part, that mantra, living by that code, if you will, has served me well. I'm sure I know for sure I can think of a few cases where I got burned selling slightly too early. Now, that was back when things were a little different, when everything was 10x and every other day. But for the most part, anytime I have sold something like this, it has worked out for the best. I sold the blue Vlad refractor. I got out of that before the market tanked and his prices tanked. I don't know what that card would go for now. I think I know someone that got one. They got one for like 1,500. I sold that for like 3,500. Obviously, different market at the time. But there's been plenty of other instances where I just took the profit and moved on, and it was the right call. At some point in time, I'm going to get burned big, and it could be on this one. This could be a $4,000 card by the end of the season. I would not be surprised about that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a $1,000 card. Maybe not that. There's probably high enough floor now. He's shown enough that people will have the hopes, the wishes, and the dreams on this card. So maybe there is probably a little bit of floor value built in there. But like I said, it's just funny how we get attached to this stuff when it's a player that I really, semi care about because he played for Ohio State, but not, it's not like a Star Wars PC item or a Gwen card or a Manny Ramirez refractor or something like that. And here I am treating it like it's my firstborn child, and I don't want to let it go, even though I know it's the right play to let it go. So not sure what I'm going to do with the finances from this sale. I guess in a way you can almost look at it like I traded it for this, because I picked this up for 1,900 and I'm going to sell this for 2,100. So essentially, I just kind of thought of it. I looked down and saw this sitting there. The Ewan McGregor autograph is basically a 1-to-1 swap for this, having thought about it like that. So I can almost view it that way. I basically took something that was a non-PC item that, I took a risk on and it worked out, and turned it into a big PC pickup. So I could kind of look at it that way. Maybe that'll make me sleep at night a little bit better. There's some sort of backwards logic in there, even though I already bought this and spent the money on it. Just don't tell my wife. Just kidding. Use some eBay spendable funds on that one. But now I'm reloaded. I did, empty the clip a little bit. I had about $3,000 laying around in reserve money if something cool came onto the market. That came onto the market and I grabbed it. But now I'll move off of this and then reload that clip to be ready to fire on the next thing that pops up that entices me. Maybe I'll take that and start building the war chest for an X-Men 1 or something like that. Or who knows? Something else will probably pop up. It's the problem with the bigger purchases. Something always pops up that I see in between before I get to the big purchase that distracts me. And then I end up, chasing some mid-tier level thing like the Ewan McGregor autograph instead of, saving up for the monster purchase. I'd have a lot of discipline when I got my Hulk 181 and my giant size X-Men 1 for those same reasons. So that's all I got for you, boys and girls. Have you ever struggled with the same thing where you bought a card or traded for a card that you had no real vested interest in besides hoping it went up a little bit, and it actually all worked out, but then the time came to move on from it and you're like, I don't want to let this go. But I don't know. Deal done. I look forward to seeing Logan do this transaction in person. We've done a couple different deals in the past. Catch boys and girls in the next one. Peace.